Internet land. Where's the camera? There it is. My name is Gustavo Hernandez. I'm a tenor. I am a vocalist and guitarist oh, you can't see my shirt, for Mariachi Garibaldi de Jaime Cuellar. And I am also an instructor at the Academy, a voice instructor. And so today, excuse me, we have a free vocal lesson with me online. It's going to be a shortened lesson. We're going to go for about 30 minutes. In the real world, that can actually be a fine lesson. Most lessons are about an hour. Different teachers do different things with different students depending on their levels of experience. I have one instructor who loves to only work on technique. I still take voice lessons. Everyone should always take voice lessons. But I have one instructor who works primarily on technique as it relates to the pieces that I'm working on. So that means that I'd better come warmed up and prepared to already sing the minute that I walk into a studio. Most other teachers, especially with students who haven't been studying for very long, will warm you up and will show you vocal exercises for technique, just for warm-ups. It's a lot like, singing is sometimes it's a bit more athletic than some of us think. Sometimes it's actually a little less athletic than you might assume. So we're gonna start with a couple of my favorite warm-ups. I guess I'm gonna do this whole thing in English. I didn't ask, but my musical education is in English, even though Spanish is my first language. So I think I'm just gonna stick to English. All right, so we'll start with these things called lip trills. Oh, I guess, spoiler alert, if you've never taken a voice lesson before, we will do some things that seem a little nutty, a little weird, but they're all just exercises to get all this, and the belly down here working. Okay, so this first one seemed a little nutty to me. Lip trills. You relax your lips, so just so much as you can do that, right? In this exercise, no smiling because you will tense your lips and then you'll spoil the exercise. So relax lips and blow air through them. I've seen some kids who have difficulty with this sometimes will kind of give themselves dimples. I guess it makes you pout, and that seems to help. If that helps you, go ahead. I highly recommend that you practice until you can get that. But if today, for example, you can't get the lip trill going, well, in that case, that was because I was tensing my lips, right? But if you can't get it, you can roll your R, and you can do the exercise on a rolled R instead. I prefer the lip trill, so I'm gonna go. And so basically what I'm gonna do today is, because of the limited amount of time and the medium that we're using, kind of just gonna give myself a voice lesson. You should always do that. I don't do that every day, but I should. All right, so I'm gonna give myself a voice lesson. If you happen to be, I'm a tenor, so if you happen to be a tenor, I keep forgetting that my camera's here. If you happen to be a tenor, totally follow along exactly as I do until it doesn't feel like it fits your voice anymore. If you're a soprano or a mezzo, try the octaves above and the octaves below, depending on where I am. Okay, so we'll do, and I will, those of you who may be watching who already have taken lessons from me, you may notice that some of these exercises are very similar, but slightly different maybe to some of the ones that we regularly do. I will be shortening and lengthening some of the exercises depending on what's going on with my voice today. Okay, so we're gonna do a lip trill, and we'll do it on a 9-note scale. All right, so here we go. And 1, 2, ready. normally in a lesson, I will go up and back down. We only went up there, right? And I went pretty darn high for me, right? For a tenor. Excuse me. The reason I decided to stop, for one, is we have to start in different places for different voices. And where I decided to end on today was a C sharp. The note's a C sharp. Okay. We started down in A major, and my first lowest note was an A, and I went all the way up to a C sharp. Now, the reason I decided to go more or less up, at least as far as a C sharp, is because as a tenor, and especially in the group in Garibaldi, I am expected to sing at least A's, high A's, that note, right? And so when you warm up, especially with the lip trill, I really love the lip trill to do lip trill first, because it almost feels like I'm singing without singing. I don't have the possibility of tensing up or cracking even, right? As long as the breath is even. You very likely will not crack while you lip trill, unless you've had something funny to eat that might give you a little extra phlegm. So I always love that as a first exercise. I'm going to do one more lip trill, a different set, but still a lip trill for the same reasons. And so since I'm usually expected to sing at least up to an A, then you should always warm up at least a whole step above the highest note that you sing. So I was going to warm up at least to a B, but I tend to warm up at least a minor third above the highest note I should sing. So I actually made it a major third this time, right? So instead of singing just a C natural, I went all the way up to C sharp. Okay? So same thing. If you're trying these at home, once you get to a point where it's like, oof, it's getting pretty high, for this exercise especially, go into your head voice, right? So if I'm, just briefly to explain what I just said, if I'm going up here to the high note here for a tenor or a baritone or whatever is an F sharp. If that starts to go, ooh, if you start to go, my goodness, that's high, go into your head voice. Rather than try to still, do a mixed voice. For this exercise especially, it's actually a great idea to go right into your head voice, okay? It is a warm-up after all. This isn't the show, okay? So, etc. Okay? So, going back down to A major, I'm going to do another lip trill, but this time it's a different pattern. Sounds complicated, but once you get the gist of it, you can just follow along. It's a very catchy pattern, okay? So I'll give us a 6 count, and then we'll jump right on. 1, 2, 3, and... All right. So this time I went all the way up to an E. So anybody who is, a young voice, like under 12, right? A young voice or a treble voice, a soprano, a mezzo, that should be familiar terrain for you. This is quite high for gentlemen or lower voice singers. I love this exercise because it covers so much ground. Talk about stretching before working out. That's what this feels like to me. I feel like I'm able to almost effortlessly cover the whole range that I have, right? Now, today I stopped up to a high E. The teacher who taught me this exercise actually is the one who would, he's like, hey, you're a tenor, you're a high tenor, you're expected to sing high C's, right? Now, this is, I should have explained that. I'll jump back into that in a second, but he says, I'm expected to sing a high C, got to go to at least the E, in these lip trills. So that's why I did it again today on an exercise like this that covers so much ground. Now let me jump back at something that I totally meant to say at the beginning of the video. The only wrong way to sing is the way that feels unhealthy, that feels like it hurts, that feels like you can't sing more than one song, that feels like you have a tugging feeling here usually. Okay? There are many different styles of singing, and mariachi is what I teach the most, is a folk tradition. So there are different ways to approach singing different styles within mariachi itself. I grew up listening to Pedro Infante, Jorge Negrete, Javier Solis. Those are my favorite singers. Those are my biggest influences. And I always wanted to be those guys. And so when someone finally said, hey, you're pretty good, you should take lessons. Well, first of all, I said, well, if I'm good, why do I need to take lessons? Turns out you need to learn how to sing, even if you're good, right? Turns out I had no idea what I was doing, and lessons were the best thing I could have done. Once I took lessons, the lessons were bel canto technique. That's an Italian term for the way that opera singers sing. This is how you sing without amplification, without microphones. And it turned out it was not such a weird thing for me because Pedro Infante, Jorge Negrete, Javier Solis, and many others of that time were bel canto trained. Now that doesn't mean that they were opera singers or they even sounded like opera singers, but they were trained in that tradition, so they knew how to use their voice in a way that was A, able to be heard without amplification, but B, also gave it a certain style. That doesn't mean that this is the right way, the only way, the best way. I mean, everyone has an opinion, but what I'm saying is this is the way I learned. This is what I love. This is what I feel the tradition I grew up in is. So this is what I teach. So it's not that I'm trying to turn anybody into an opera singer if you don't want to be. That's totally cool. And it's not that bel canto technique only works for opera. If we have time in the ending of the video, I'll demonstrate something that is not operatic or mariachi, right? But I'm still using the same bel canto technique. So that's why a second ago I said, oh, if you sing to a high C, well, it's because as an opera singer who's a tenor, I'm expected to sing up to a high C. Now, I don't know if I can bring these questions back up. I see that there are questions being put up, but then they disappear. Sorry. If I see another question, I'll try to answer it right away because I don't see how to bring them back up. Sorry, guys. Not technically advanced here, this guy. Okay, so that's my little rap about bel canto. That's why bel canto is important. That's what the older guys did, style-wise. And I'm sure plenty of mariachis, actually a lot of mariachis, listen to some of the guys in Vargas. They are totally bel canto taught, at least to a certain degree. So see, I left off with the lip trills. Now, I'm definitely gonna do a shortened version of this exercise. This is medicine for your voice. The way we are able to project our voice without microphones is that our amplification comes from the bones in our face and concentrating the voice there. So the more I had to learn that, because I didn't know how to do that when I first started singing, the more I realized that it was kind of like my voice was a laser and it was being shot out of here. I didn't sing through here. I don't sing through here. Of course there's sound that comes through here. But I concentrate my voice here so that there's resonance, so that you can hear it when I sing. So why am I talking about all this stuff? Because this next exercise is all about waking up the resonators in the face. As silly and as soft and as relaxed as this exercise is, that's what it's for. That's why I love it. Usually I take actually more than 30 minutes, which is, that was the first question I saw. How long do I practice for? You can get away with practicing 15 to 30 minutes a day. 15 to 30 minutes a day is great. When I really sit down and work, though, I'm working on repertoire too. So if I can manage it, I'll practice for a good 2 to 3 hours. But you have to stop in between to make sure you're not wearing yourself out, especially if you're going over the same high notes over and over again. You don't want to do that. You wear yourself out, even if you're doing it right. So 15 to 30 minutes is good for these warm-ups, stuff like that. And then you spend your time on your rep. I actually am a little worn out vocally today. We had a long weekend, and I would probably take a longer time warming up today because my voice is so rusty. It feels so rusty right now. I'd probably sing for an hour. So actually, probably after I turn you guys off, I'm gonna keep singing. So 15 to 30 minutes a day if you can. So this exercise is humming, and when we hum, we want to make sure that there's space. Even though we're closing our lips, we want to make sure that there's space inside of the mouth. Now, what I mean by that is, and this is where singing becomes almost like cooking. You have to make sure that you put the right amount of ingredients, not too much salt, or if it's too salty, not too much of that, because it's that, right? Well, for humming, we want to make sure that we lift, make space, kind of like if you were yawning. If you've ever had to yawn with your mouth closed, that's more or less what we're gonna do. We're gonna lift our soft palate, which is, where's the camera? The furthermost back part of your throat there. That's where your soft palate is. That's why the doctor always asks you to go say right? So they can look past that. That's you lifting your soft palate. So when we hum, we're gonna hum, making all that space. Almost like you had a really good idea or just tasted something delicious, right? And I'm gonna hum. It's recommended that you actually take a breath before you do it so you don't run out of breath like I just did. And when you do this, you probably notice that you get little tickles. I get little tickles in my nose. I feel vibrations happening right underneath my eyeballs. And as we go up the scale, I start to feel it in the bridge of my nose, my forehead, and if I get really high, you start to feel it around the crown of your head. At least I do. And that's the point. We want all that to wake up. We want all that to vibrate and shake, because that's where we're going to send our voice through. And if you happen to be someone who has allergies or eats things that give you too much mucus sometimes, you'll start to feel the mucus run when you do this exercise. You start to do it and you feel like either you have to spit or you have to blow your nose or something. Tell us a little bit about yourself and where you study, Maestro. Thank you, guys. Okay, well, I studied voice at the Conservatory of Music in San Francisco. I was really lucky to go there. I graduated from there, and then I did my master's at USC here, also in voice. And from there, I've got to sing with opera in San Francisco, with LA Opera. I've gotten to sing cool little concerts in a couple parts of the United States, Germany. I got to sing in Spain, Italy, and of course Mexico. What else can I say about myself? Everyone likes Beethoven, I think, right? Dun 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 dun. But one really cool thing that I got to do was the Beethoven Ninth. Da 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 da. I got to do the tenor solos in that at Walt Disney Hall. So that's kind of one of my big dreams that have come true. So I don't know. If you let me, I'll talk the rest of the time about myself. So I think I'll stop right there. I am a tenor after all. We were doing the humming. So it's I can't recommend humming enough. The last time that I had just a terrible day, my voice was like this from just singing too much, and I had a voice lesson, and I did not want to cancel on my teacher. Don't cancel on your teachers at the last minute. We don't like it. I was like, I'm not going to cancel on my teacher, but gosh, what am I going to do? I sound terrible. And so we had our voice lesson. I told him, and we spent 40 minutes humming. No lie. I was actually bored out of my mind, but I just thought, what the heck? At least I'm humming. Nothing bad's happening. And then as soon as he said, okay, let's do a vowel, all this sound came out, even though my voice had been just like this. I cannot recommend humming enough. Humming's a great exercise. I almost think like it's a massage for everything. So we have such little time left that I'll just do one or two more hums for my own benefit, and then we'll do a couple of other exercises. Normally in a voice lesson like this is, I'm treating this like this is our first voice lesson, so there is a lot of explanation, right? And then again, normally in a voice lesson, you have more than an hour, more than 30 minutes. You have an hour. So yeah. So sorry, there's a little bit of chit chat here, but if I don't explain the exercises, then what are we doing? Then what are you paying me for, right? All right. So we'll do a little humming right about here. Jump to something else now. Just always remember, I got to my middle voice here and I started to feel a little resistance. And so when, just rule of rules for singing, never push. Everything should be gentle. Even forte, even singing loud, always go in gently. When you're learning to sing, in fact, here's an example right here. When I first started learning to sing, and then my teacher's like, okay, well now you have to sing this note, right? And I wanted to sing it, but I couldn't. So what did we do? We would walk our way up to it nice and gently. Yay, I got it, right? Cool. I got right in the space that I needed. I had the right amount of air, and I didn't push it. It didn't sound ugly. It didn't sound bad. It didn't sound strained. But then I'd go, well, maestro, it's supposed to be a forte. It's supposed to be a loud note. I can't sing it like that. Well, you find the placement first, and then you give your voice more air. Your voice needs food. The food for your voice is air. So whenever you are going to sing something, and especially if it's in your high range, you just give it more food. You don't push it. You don't punch it. You don't. You relax, and you give more air. So, so I got louder and louder and louder and louder, but really it's just because I just gave it more air, right? I just shot my voice out through here, and that's how you do it, right? So that's what all that stuff a second ago was about. All right, so I'm a little sort of warmed up. I mean, I really should warm up a lot more if I'm going to sing something challenging, so I'll keep it on the mariachi end for now. So in a voice lesson, typically you would do all these besides, by the way, feel free to keep asking questions. And I'm just, like I said, I'll just keep an eye on the questions. In a voice lesson, typically you'll start with warm-ups, technique exercises, and they, I usually kind of snap right through them, unless I have to stop you and help you find your placement or relax or whatever's going on. And then for the last third or something of your lesson, I try to make sure that we then put it to use with what you are supposed to or want to sing, right? So, excuse me. Excuse me. So, for example, here, let's be real and nice and vulnerable here. With the group, we're doing a song called Bésame Morenita. I'm supposed to be singing it, and it's in a higher key. For whatever reason, I guess it sounds good in this key, but I was like, oof, this is high, and I sing it in public, and I go, why isn't it easy? So let's work on it. I need to work on it. We're gonna do a voice lesson on me. So let's see, we go, ay, 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 ay. That's how we start. If you're not familiar with the song, I'll just sing a quick bit of it, and then I'll show you where I'm having trouble, and then I'll figure out how to fix it. Mírame, mírame, quiéreme, quiéreme, bésame, morenita, que me estoy muriendo por esa boquita, tan jugosa y fresca, tan coloradita, como una manzana, dulce madurita. All right, and then the rest is just taka, 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 taka. All right, so I believe the trick. That's That's the toughest part for me. Okay. So what seems to be happening here, to me, is that I have a fairly high note. Actually, that's on the lower end of my high notes. It's a G. So it's pretty high. And E, mírame, mírame, quiéreme, bésame, morenita. The E vowel, for me, not for everyone, but for me, it's a tricky vowel. If I don't have enough space, you get too much tension. And then you don't get the sound that you want. You get a push sound, right? So my go-to vowel, me, Gustavo, tends to be ah, because when I was first learning to sing, I didn't realize you had to open your mouth as much as you do for singing, right? I was just kind of trying to sing like this or something, right? So it turns out that if you need maybe about this much space, where's my molars? Here, between your back molars, about that much space. So you don't need that unless you're going to a really high note, but about and that felt like a lot to me when I first started. So my teacher would say, sing like a nutcracker or a ventriloquist dummy. Jaws relaxed, mouth is open. Ah. Ah. So if I approach this with an ah, then I get more of the round, tall sound that I need to sing it healthily open, and so that I can hold it if I wanted to. I could hold the note for a long time that way, right? Now, I find that space with ah, and then I just try to think the E vowel through that ah space. So I make a space like I'm going to say ah, and I think E. Ay, mírame, quiéreme, bésame, morenita, mírame, I have to sing it in tune though. Mírame, quiéreme, bésame, morenita. Good. I just actually gave myself a voice lesson. So that's how we go about solving problems. Singing, really what it is, the voice lives on the vowels. So usually if we're having trouble with anything, for the most part, it's because we're just not having the vowel in the right placement, and or we're not giving it enough or too much air. Okay? So the problems usually boil down to how we're approaching a vowel and how much air we're giving it, if we're giving it enough or not enough. We have like seconds left in this thing. Do we have any more questions? I don't know how to bring these things up still. Oh, Gustavo. Well, all right. I guess I can try one more little thing. Ah, yes, actually, this is nice. So we're going to do it nice and well, you should do this at the bottom of your range. I'm going to do it at the bottom of my range. So what really helped me with what I just said, right? E vowels and then E vowels sometimes. E, like education, estar. E vowels were tricky for me for a while too. So what I started doing, again, ah was my go-to because it would make me go. I would go through a, e, o, u in a mirror so I can make sure that my jaw was relaxed and my mouth was actually open in an ah space. And then sing. Ah, e, o. We could slow down actually. Ah, e, o. Notice when I sang E, I actually got a little tension in my jaw. My mouth closed a little bit. You're not supposed to do that. So eventually you should stand up. I'm sitting down. But yes, always sing standing up. And it looks like we're running out of time. So please, if you are so inclined, join us October 4th at the Academy. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. See you guys soon. Bye-bye.